I don't know about you guys, but I've been getting flooded with sports card content lately. Rare cards, graded cards, $1 million pulls. The market is clearly booming compared to what it was 10 to 20 years ago. But for whatever reason, sports cards never really clicked for me. Today though, I want to show you a completely different kind of sports collectible. This is a career roadmap binder sent to Shaquille O'Neal and his parents on January 22nd, 1992. Before the fame, before the championships, this was the plan. Drop a like and subscribe to the Icon Origin channel. Let's get into it. So right here in the front pocket, this is a note addressed to Philip and Lucille. Lucille is Shaq's mom, and Philip Harrison is his stepdad, the guy who really raised him. The letter says January 22nd, 1992, via Federal Express. We have an address here, and then it says, Dear Philip and Lucille. Enclosed is the notebook for Shaquille with the revisions we discussed. So right away, this tells us this wasn't the first conversation. This binder is version 2, maybe version 3. They were already working on this. I've tried to make this as comprehensive as possible. There's a lot of food for thought. Now this next part is where it gets really interesting. You also asked me to write you a short summary of my telephone conversation with the NCAA about the Chevrolet Player of the Game award. So now we're talking about NCAA rules, which already feels like we're entering dangerous territory. I inquired whether a player of the game could designate the charity of his choice for the donation rather than having the donation submitted to the general scholarship fund of the school that the player attends. That sounds pretty reasonable, right? Like, hey, if Shaq wins something, can he choose where the money goes? Seems harmless. Angelus told me that was impossible for 2 reasons. And here comes the NCAA. First, he said that under NCAA rules, no award could be given based upon a player's athletic performance. Second, since the monies cannot be donated to any cause based upon a player's athletic performance, it is therefore impossible for any athlete to designate the recipient of an award of this nature. So basically, they shut it down completely. No control, no flexibility, everything goes through the system. And this is the part I think is really interesting because when you hear stories about college athletes, you always hear about rules being bent, boosters, under the table stuff, all that. But here, this is the opposite. They asked and got a hard no. But I found it funny because on the second page it says, if you would like to pursue this further, let's discuss a strategy and come up with a game plan. On one hand, it sounds like, okay, rules are rules. But on the other hand, that kind of sounds like we might be able to figure something out. I have no idea how this actually played out or what happened, but I found the letter really cool and it feels like a moment in Shaq's career that you can hold in your hands. Now let's get into the binder. Alright, so this is the table of contents, and honestly, this alone already tells you how serious this whole thing was. We've got public image, basketball career planning, marketing, career opportunities, financial future, and the formation of his enterprise. This isn't just like, hey, let's get this guy a shoe deal. This is a full blueprint. Like, they're thinking about how he's perceived, how his career plays out, how he makes money, what he does after basketball, and even the company structure that controls everything. So let's start at the top, public image. Alright, the first real section, the role of public relations. Enhance all the special qualities that Shaquille has without changing his personality. Project the image to which the public and media will respond positively. Basically, be yourself, but be yourself strategically. Protect the image in all interviews with the media and interacting with the public in a friendly and consistent manner. Create an image that transcends basketball and opens other areas of opportunity. They're already saying don't just be a basketball player, be something bigger. It takes preparation to look comfortable and at ease in media situations. That's funny because when you watch Shaq today, he looks pretty natural on TV. I wonder if he's the same in his personal life. Alright, this is where things get a little deeper. Defining Shaquille's values. Just as important as the image that Shaquille shapes is projecting his beliefs, ideas, goals, and opinions and lending his name to charities and organizations who support those beliefs. Shaquille should focus on a few strong messages. That's interesting. Not everything, just a few. And then they literally outline them. Number 1, education. Shaquille could become the main spokesperson for the NBA's stay-in-school program. That's wild because that ended up being a huge part of his identity later on. Right out of the gate, they're like positioning him around education and giving back. Number 2, family. Through the media, Shaquille could stress the importance of family. Dedication to family is a message of particular urgency since so many kids today come from broken homes or are abused by other family members. It's interesting, especially knowing his relationship with his mom and stepdad. They're not just trying to build an athlete, they're building a role model. Number 3, business. Shaquille could project his values through PSAs. So even his endorsements aren't just about money, they're about messaging. Shaquille would establish himself as a credible business person. At like 19 years old, they're already planning his post-basketball reputation. Man, if this was 1992, I wonder how crazy these career plans have gotten now for college athletes. Alright, next up is media training. The way Shaquille speaks to the public and to the media will affect their perception of him on almost every level. The benefits of media training are as follows: to develop a confident, energetic manner, to speak with clear, concise language, to pace volume and pitch of voice, to avoid words like like, you know, to answer difficult questions gracefully, to develop and improve vocabulary. I feel like NBA players today don't have to be quite as media trained. I hear them saying some crazy stuff. Next page, projecting the image. In Shaquille's case, it is definitely not a matter of how many articles he appears in or how many television shows he does. Man, marketing really hasn't changed. The most popular players in the game are the ones that typically have something off the court that people connect with. Down here, we just have a bunch of sports media outlets listed that they thought would be part of his career. NBA Inside Stuff, Prime Ticket, USA Today, and then this next page. This has some potential lifestyle media outlets listed. Also down here we have some future guest appearances. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Man, I love that show. I wonder if Shaq was ever on it. Alright, now we're getting into basketball career planning. This is where it goes from how should Shaq act to how should Shaq move. Goal: to maximize Shaquille's potential on the court worldwide. Not just in the NBA, worldwide. Create an image that will transcend basketball and create marketing and career opportunities. Shaquille should be the first basketball player in the position to select his team because of the following. That's kinda crazy. It says his ability to provide unparalleled leverage to determine his destiny, his pre-draft endorsements provide financial security, and worldwide bidding provides alternatives. Seems like they're saying you don't have to just take what the NBA gives you, you're good enough to negotiate. Shaquille can explore becoming one-on-one world champion, an event which can be structured around Shaquille and marketed on a global level. Alright, so they were trying to turn Shaq into an event. To be fair, I think he would have dominated a one-on-one tournament. On to page 7, we have chronology of the plan. Shaquille becomes eligible for the NBA draft, complete and announce a number of basic deals, shoes, trading cards, etc. Before he even plays a game, they're locking in money. Announce Shaquille's vision of basketball as a worldwide sport and his receptivity to playing anywhere. Again, global positioning. They keep pounding that point. Approach the NBA and Commissioner David Stern to discuss a number of possibilities regarding Shaquille, including team selection, cross-marketing, and promotion with the league. What is this about team selection? Shaq was a great player, but I wonder how many college players are sold this dream of becoming the face of the league. Alright, now we have the structure of the contract. This part is super interesting. Shaquille should sign the most lucrative contract in sports history without appearing greedy in the process. Pretty funny that they included that. His contract should include provisions relative to his education. Kinda cool that they were building in incentives for him to finish school. Contract should include provisions relative to his charitable affiliations, providing tickets to a worthy cause identified by Shaquille. This makes the team responsible for help building his image too. More about free tickets. Let's see. Basically, they're trying to make it bigger than just Shaq donates money. They're trying to build out this system. They even reference Kareem's Lakers contract down here. It says that he could use the Forum free 2 nights per year to promote concerts. And in Shaquille's case, maybe the team donates facilities for Shaquille's camps or clinics. Alright, page 9, marketing. Ooh, the shoe deal. When constructing a shoe contract, there are a number of factors that should be considered by Shaquille in determining the best possible situation. So this isn't just sign with Nike and call it a day. It looks like they break it into 3 things. Number 1, global marketing. A company should be selected that has a global marketing plan and strategy. Number 2, global image. The company should be required to construct a personality and image for Shaquille which is consistent with his overall career ambitions and can be complemented by the marketing of other companies. Global, global, global. They keep hammering that. Number 3, special niche. The company must create a special niche for Shaquille. This is a big one. For example, Reebok has positioned itself as the shoe of the playgrounds and has done some more creative advertising recently with Dominic Wilson. Nike has historically been the best sports advertiser with Air Jordan. It says, however, Nike has so many superstars under contract that Shaquille must guarantee contractually Nike's marketing commitment to him. That's definitely smart for them to include. Alright, page 10. Now this page is basically a checklist for a big shoe deal. Not gonna read all these off, but this is all the stuff that they'd ask a shoe brand for. This is not a normal endorsement. This is structured like a business partnership. Approval rights, image and creative. That way Shaq controls how he's presented. Price point of shoes in line. This is kind of cool to see because I remember hearing about Shaq's shoes being in Walmart at one point. He kind of got some crap for it, but I'm pretty sure they sold super well there. I get why a lot of NBA stars want to sell their shoes for a lot of money, but I wonder if some would be more successful if they went the opposite approach and tried selling them at a more affordable price point. Next page. Okay, and now it goes beyond just shoes. Charitable tie-in. So even the shoe deal connects to charity. Camp and clinic support. Concept store. Store to be developed in city in which Shaquille plays. Special section created for big and tall. The Shaq Rack. That's actually genius. Wonder if it came to life. On our next page, we have other marketing prospects. When negotiating deals with potential marketing partners, one should consider companies which marry well, not only with the shoe deal, but also with Shaquille's overall image. Shaquille should insist that the companies with which he associates himself pay close attention to the quality and integrity of his image. In order to avoid confusion and clutter, a strong loyalty needs to be established with each marketing partner. I feel like these days you see athletes promoting like 20 random things, and it feels messy. What this is outlining seems to be a more thoughtful approach. Okay, down here is where we get into the actual product ideas. So starting off with sporting good companies. Signature basketball, the Shaq Attack. That definitely has a 90s vibe to it. Micro mini ball, signature backboard and rim. On to the next page. Oh my gosh, Shaq knee pads. Those would go hard. Trading card companies. The Shaq stack would feature Shaquille on and off the court. Example, action shot, headshot, family shot, GQ type card, charity card, working out card. It's like they wanted to build his story through trading cards. Not just stats, but personality, which Shaq has a lot of. Alright, page 14. This page looks wild. We got poster companies, t-shirts, soft drink companies, communications companies, car companies. They literally list out every category you can think of. I think Shaq did partner with Pepsi at one point, so this kind of predicted that future. Communications companies. Create a commercial with Shaquille calling home on a payphone after a game. They're tying his brand back to family again. Car companies. Shaquille should consider endorsing an American car company to show his support for USA products. So even that, they're thinking about positioning him as like an American icon. Alright, this might be my favorite page so far. Food companies. Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. Makes sense. Kraft macaroni and cheese. Perhaps a Shaq-a-roni recipe from Lucille. No way. They literally pitched Shaq-a-roni in 1992. That's actually insane because that exact name shows up decades later with his Papa John's ties. They literally called it eyewear, the Shaq shades, watches, the Shaq swatch. Come on. Electronics, radio, Shaq. Puns were really big back then. Nintendo Shaq Attack video game. I know there was a Shaq Fu video game that came out. I've never played it, but they did get him his own game. What are we on here? Page 16, okay. Shaquille promo/challenge tie-ins. Apple computers presented by Shaquille to 5 students who submit the best essay on why I should stay in school. This would be promoted locally in the city in which Shaquille plays pro basketball. Kareem currently has a deal with Apple. So another idea tied to education. Showtime pay-per-view one-on-one challenge. It reminds me of influencer boxing before influencer boxing. Nike presents Shaq Pack. So it's a package that would contain a video of Shaquille's best plays set to music, tips on fundamentals of the game, and advice on nutrition, a Shaq poster, and a Shaq t-shirt. Basically a YouTube course in 1992. Spalding world record. Who can touch the highest point above the earth from a standing jump? Stuff like this is turning him into a spectacle. Kind of reminds me of Steph Curry and his trick shots, which has been a huge part of him becoming a household name. Alright, this is the final page of this section. Book deals, of course. Shaq by Shaq, instructional book with dad. Again, the family angle. Autobiography, Shaq Attack, The Real Me. That title's a little weak. One thing this binder is really reminding me of is that Shaq has had a crazy career outside of basketball. Like, that dude has done so many different things. A lot of this stuff in here has actually happened, and he's even DJing now. Alright, we only have a few pages left here. First up, career opportunities. So they're already thinking about what Shaq does after basketball before he even gets to the NBA. They list 3 main paths. Broadcasting, makes sense. He literally ends up becoming one of the biggest personalities in sports media. Acting? I think he did have a movie or two. Not sure how those performed. Business ventures. A restaurant called the Rib Shack. I don't know that Shaq got into ribs, but I know he has owned and owns a bunch of different restaurants. Page 19 is about his financial future. They're basically saying Shaq's NBA contract plus endorsements will already be enough to set him up for life. So the goal isn't to get ultra rich, it's to not lose it. They recommend preserving capital, focusing on steady, reasonable returns, small risks, and hiring top-tier financial professionals. And they even say down here Shaq should continue his education so he can eventually make these decisions himself. Last page, and this is the final piece of the puzzle. Formation of One Al Enterprises. This is where they propose Shaq becomes a business. They want to establish a board of directors, trusted people close to him, and a team of advisors guiding decisions. Again, this binder is from some management company. It makes sense that they share the structure and personnel that they plan to put behind Shaq and his brand. Alright, that is the whole binder, or at least what I received. This letter of authenticity was included too, and Shaq signed this as well, so that's pretty nice. I just think that items like this that tell a story and really give you a behind-the-scenes look at a moment in an athlete's career are really underrated. Sports cards I think are popular because a lot of people got into the hobby back when they were a kid. There's some nostalgia there. Also, you can get into collecting them for a lot less money, but I think right now these companies are printing a lot of cards. I worry about the value of more modern cards declining over the next 10 years. Alternatively, with an item like this, there's only one out there that we know of. Definitely a smaller market of people interested, and maybe it doesn't display as well, but the story behind it is incredible. Drop a like and subscribe to the Icon Origin channel if you haven't. We'll see you soon.